Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing? I just want to do a video. I want to talk about physical media because I love physical media. I really not really care too much for streaming, even though that is the way. And I do have like Netflix and Prime and a few other ones, and I use the free ones like Tubi is probably one of my favorites, just because there's a lot of cult films and underground films that even I haven't heard of that come up there. But I will say I do love physical media. I'm gonna be talking about physical media, and I'm going to be saying physical media a lot in this video probably. If you like physical media and you want to subscribe and help me get up to 1,000 subs, I would really appreciate that. That would be really cool, and I would appreciate that. And yeah, sorry, I thought I said something wrong for a second. I just said physical media, and I started thinking, was I saying social media? No, I was saying physical media. I only said it like 18 times already in 1 minute. This video has been running so for. But also, if you like physical media and you want to comment about some of the things you might have still in your collection, excuse me, now I'm spitting, and and go from there. But I'm just going to talk about some of the things that I have here. I mean, these aren't some of my favorite things in my collection or anything like that. I'm just going to be talking about it in general. But first thing I like is having the actual object. I knew a guy, or I worked with a guy this a couple of years ago now, and he bought a movie. And I know you can. This is a common thing now, and I think it's the weirdest, almost stupidest thing ever. But it's just my opinion. Buys an online copy of something. So basically, he doesn't have the actual object. It's just online, but he can watch it whenever he wants. Like, you can probably just stream it somewhere for nothing and didn't actually have to pay whatever it was. I think it was like $10, $12 or something for a movie. And there's no movie good enough that I'm going to buy an invisible imaginary copy of something just so I could say I did, when I can just find it somewhere streaming for free or just download it for nothing. But I don't know. I just to me, if you don't actually have the thing in your hand, it doesn't exist, and I just think it's silly. But that's just, again, my opinion. I know there's lots of people out there that do that all the time. I just think it's silly. But I'm going to talk about physical media. There, I said it again, and just go through. I got a small stack of things here that I just want to show and talk about and why they're cool. The first thing, I don't have any 8 tracks. So, and if you don't know what an 8 track is, it was like a cassette that you couldn't fast forward or rewind or something like that. I don't know. I never used one. It's just a little bit before my time. It was, I mean, they were still around in the 70s, but I was too young to really own an 8 track player or anything like that. I didn't even have I had a radio, but I didn't get my first like cassette player until I was in like, I got a TV before I got a cassette player, as weird as that sounds. And it was a black and white TV. Yeah. Yeah, they sold those. Big thing. It was a boxy thing about this big. It was one you can pick up and carry. But anyway, what I did have was their cassettes. And cassettes are great. They're convenient. And this is when Walkmans became popular. I have a Walkman buried away somewhere. I think there might even be a Discman somewhere around. But they were good. You could just plug it in. Of course, this is before MP3 players and iPods and everything else, which is, in your phone now, all that shit. So that's even outdated stuff. So what I'm looking for, but they're outdated too. And what is squeaking? This chair is squeaking. I'm sitting on. Assure you, it's the chair and not me. But I still use an iPod when I go bike riding, so it just has all my songs in it and different playlists. It's just convenient and keeps. I'm not using data on my phone or space. Sorry, space on my phone. Anyway, so but yeah, cassettes, they're great. They're small. Yeah, they're limited for the amount of information, the amount of songs you could have on them, and you had to carry a bunch of them. Let me up top. There she is. But yeah, you either had to carry a whole bunch of them on you or just listen to the same couple of cassettes you had on you all day, which could get a little bit annoying, but it was just how it was. Now, cassettes, I'm not going to lie, I don't really miss them a whole lot. But I did like, because you can open them up. A lot of times they had the lyrics inside, as you can see here. It was called an inlay card. And yeah, it had all the information, but I don't really miss cassettes, to be honest. They're just they're outdated, and you know, but for the time they worked. But I did like it because it had the picture. He still had a picture on it. Now we're gonna talk about something else. I gotta move some things. So I do have a small stack of stuff here. Put that down there, and that is records. Now records obviously predate cassettes, 8 tracks. You know, they're one of the oldest medias. Before that, they had like I don't know what it's called, but they're like wax tubes, and instead of a flat surface playing in a circle, it spun, and it basically worked very similar. But I don't know what it's called. But the thing about what I miss about vinyls is just the size of them. And now I know vinyls are coming back in a huge way. They never really went away. There's always been collectors. DJs use them a lot, like especially DJs that are doing a lot of mixing and that sort of thing. They still use vinyls. I get all that, but just in general, kids aren't really buying records. But I do like, it's just you have this big piece of art. Now I mean this isn't the most artistic record. It was just I literally just reached in and pulled. Aside from the couple that I have here, this is just the first one I sort of pulled out by accident. It just happened to be exploited. But you know, it's just the artwork, the size. It's just great. You know, and then when it went to CDs, it got to this thing, and then cassettes. Obviously, it went from being this size to that, which you know, again, convenience. But you see these a lot in certain types of pubs and things, especially ones that have a retro theme. You'll see them up on the wall. And also then you got the record inside, which usually came in a paper sleeve or a wax or plastic sleeve, depending. But you know, and a lot of times you'll see these on walls now too. There's a bar literally right next door to me that sort of is retro themed, and it's a pretty cool place. And it's got vinyls on the wall. Not a lot of stuff or anything I've ever actually heard of, but still kind of fun to see. But let me get this out of the way. We'll move on to. Got a couple more vinyls. Yes, I call them vinyls. My mom used to get so mad. They're called records. They're not called vinyls. Like they're called vinyls because they're made of vinyl. Like that's just the material. But anyway, but some of them you got some great artwork. You know, and I'm not saying I'm the biggest Iron Maiden fan, but I do really like Iron Maiden. But the reason I picked this out is just because of the phenomenal artwork. And you like that's like you could frame that and put it on the wall, you know. And then some of them, like this, they open up into an even bigger piece. Now this is a double album, that's why it does open up like that, because it's a live album. And then it's also got stuff on the inside. See, new stuff when you're just using like Spotify or whatever you're using, you don't have this anymore. This is something that doesn't exist. And some of the younger people that look at this as dated and old school stuff, this is not old school and stupid. This is cool shit. Like this is like art. Like this is beautiful. You know, it even comes with a book. This is stuff that you don't get anymore. Unless you go to the show and Ticketmaster is gouging everybody. So to see any show, I mean, Iron Maiden just played here not too long ago, and the ticket prices were like insane, and that wasn't even the original prices of the tickets. So can't blame the band, partially blame the venue, but Ticketmaster, blame them all you want, because they're the assholes that are gouging everybody. This resale bullshit. It's like legalizing scalping now. But anyway, I'm going off into a different direction. But like, look at this. Like, look at the artwork. Like all this stuff down here, all these things, so that when you're just listening to it on a music, whatever they're called, like Spotify. I'm just gonna keep saying Spotify for lack of another term, because I don't use any of them. But you don't get anything like this. You don't have this physical thing that's like really awesome. You know, like why would you not want this if it's a band you really love? It's really great. You know, and other things like soundtracks from some of your favorite movies and things like Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like this is like a movie poster right here. You know, like, and then, you know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. There is a few Star Wars things here I'll be showing. I mean, this whole sleeve is basically Star Wars, except for a few things like the skull here and but it's all faded from bike riding, so it's hard to see what it is. But you know, like a soundtrack like this alone is really cool. You know, shots from the film. The inside's a little bit lacking on this one. There's not a whole lot going on, but still, like it's just awesome. Like it's just cool, and you're not going to find this anymore. You can download it if somebody uploaded this somewhere to like some what do you call downloading illegally piratey thing. That I'm not gonna lie, I've downloaded a lot of music over the years, but you know, it's just cool. Like just this physical object that you own, you can look at. You know, it's just that feeling when you pull the record out and you put it on the turntable, and you got those pops and hisses that until the music starts. And if it's a record you've listened to a lot and it's got a little scratch here and there, you sort of feel nostalgic for that when you're listening to it and you know where that part's coming up, and it only exists on your copy. So you know, I have a Harry Chapin album that used to be my mom's, and there's a few like scratches in it here and there, and I always know when those parts are coming up. And then when I listen to it, if I hear the song on the radio, it doesn't have that, and it almost sounds like a different song to me. Like it's just weird. And then other things, vinyl, you know, you got your 45, so you got like smaller records, but it's still got a lot of cool artwork on it, like you know, like the singles, and again, like now these ones probably don't have it. No, they don't. But like the old school where it has like the bigger hole in the middle, those were on the singles, the 45s. I don't know why the purpose of that. It's that sort of predates my knowledge, but it's kind of cool. And you know what? It just it's like more stuff on the inside. I haven't even pulled this out in years, but it's got like a lot of artwork. See all this stuff it's lost. It's lost forever, and it's really sad. And like I said, like younger people look at that and go, "Oh, that's just so old." It's like, no, it's cool. Like look what you're missing out on. Now, I'm not saying that modern technology is a bad thing, and like Spotify and other things are necessarily bad, but don't look down your nose at this stuff, because this stuff is really cool. And then also with vinyls, something that's even cooler is picture discs. Like this is for you younglings out there. This is an actual record. Now, I don't know how people feel about the band Wasp. I bought this years, like when I was a teenager. And I think I've only listened to it like once or twice just because I didn't want to scratch it. But I used to be a big Wasp fan. I like Wasp still. I'm not saying they're a bad band, but back in my serious heavy metal days of middle school, I think I was probably in grade 9, so middle school, early high school, before I started getting into more of the punk and industrial stuff, you know. But I saw this, it was there, and I was like, okay, I got to get this just because it looks really cool. And if you didn't know, these are from the movie Ghoulies, I believe. So characters from that film. And then you could even get vinyls that were 45s. I got a Rob Zombie one here that I bought quite a few years ago. This is what's the date on this? I don't know, sometime late 90s, early 2000s. I don't remember when this album came out, but damn, Sherry Moon was so hot. I'm not gonna lie, but really cool picture. Like, you know, and this is a record. This is something you can put on your turntable and play. You know, I just want to check something real quick on this other 45. Maybe this. Oh, no, it doesn't have the. However, my 45s are right here. So, I'll show you what I'm talking about. People my age and a little bit younger definitely know this, but yeah, they had this big circle, and you put a little plastic thing in there, which is in here somewhere. Since I have it out, I might as well take a peek and see if I can find it. The easiest way to do that would be pull them all out. I believe it might be in this thing here. Oh yeah, right there. This is a Beatles 45. This used to be on my mom's actually. But yeah, this little plastic thing here. And it just had something to do with the way the records would play on automatic or something. I like I said, I don't know. It's a little bit. I have a friend who's a DJ, and she actually wears one around her neck. Hi, Shannon, if you see this, but she wears one around her neck, and she would know probably what the actual function of that is. And yes, it's in a Star Wars Episode 2 Raisin Bran box that I cut in half. That's how old this box is, how long they've been sitting in here. So, anyway, moving on. Of course, then you had, I'm going to get to, you had VHS, which a lot of people are serious collectors still of VHS. I have a good friend, Tyler, who's really into collecting VHS movies, underground films, cult films. A lot of people are into that, especially like people in the horror community. A lot of them are worth a lot of money. If you have like an original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Exorcist, something like that, that came out when VCRs first became a thing, some of them are worth like hundreds of dollars. It's pretty crazy. But I'm going to just show off VHS right here. I have a couple here I'm going to show real quick. This one, rest in peace, Robert Duvall, who just passed away a couple days ago. 94 years old, had a great life. So it's sad that we lost him, but it's also wonderful that he had such a good life. And I heard he was like one of the super nicest people you can meet. But anyway, yeah, they're big and wonky. And I just watched this the other day. I have it on DVD as well, and you can find it online. But this one actually has scenes in it you'll never find anywhere else unless you have this copy. So that's why I usually prefer to watch this, even though it's a little bit grainy and out of focus as VHS films tend to be. But the one good thing I liked about VHS over DVDs is that in the beginning you have that warning that don't copy this movie, don't share it for profit or do viewings for profit. On VHS, you can fast forward through that shit. On DVDs, you can't. You actually have to sit, and sometimes it'll say prohibited, you can't skip this, and you're sort of stuck watching it, or you can go take a leak or whatever the fuck you want to do while it's happening. But yeah, VHS, you can skip through that. So that was a benefit of VHS, in spite of the size and they're a little bit noisy when you're fast forwarding or rewinding, and you have to rewind them. That was the other thing too. Be kind. Please rewind. Or Be Kind, Rewind. I think that's it. It's also a good movie with Jack Black. But yeah. But yeah, they're big, wonky. And there's also, I remember going to the video store as a kid. No, I didn't go to the big one that everybody talks about constantly. I can tell you right now what it is because I have a game with the same name. Blockbuster. See, I actually have a Blockbuster game, if you want to believe it. That's in a giant VHS case that a friend of mine I used to work with bought for me for my birthday or for Christmas or something. But I haven't had a chance to play it yet because it's multiplayer and you need more than 2 people. So figure try and get some time in there. But I never went to Blockbuster. I went to the place on the corner near my house. Blockbuster, I didn't even know if it existed when I was that young yet. But everyone talks about it. I only went there later in life when I started buying movies because there's one across the street, which is now a condominium. So anyway, and also sometimes you can go to the local corner store that would also just rent movies. So I was talking about vinyls. I forgot to talk about CDs. All my CDs are put away except for this homemade one I did of the soundtrack for An American Werewolf in London. But, CDs, everyone knows what a CD is. And this is obviously, like one I recorded myself. Just scribbled the name of the film on, downloaded a picture and cropped it out and made my own version. But if I did find a copy of An American Werewolf in London soundtrack, even though I'm not buying CDs anymore, per se, I would still buy it to have it in my collection. And one more VHS thing I'll show. This is another thing you don't get with streaming services and stuff is crazy box sets. Is crazy box sets. This is my Star Wars VHS original, just like it was released in the theaters before the special editions, or as young people would call it, before regular editions. But but you get box sets like this. I got this one here. I got a couple Blu-ray ones for The Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, like really cool stuff, and it's got all the movies in there. These are legit VHS movies. Comes with like a collector's book. They would always come with some kind of goodies. The only thing is the certificate of the certificate that says this is real. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I've done with it. It exists somewhere, but I don't know why it's not in here. But it's just stuff like this you just don't get anymore. It just does not exist. It's unfortunate. I mean, you can still buy things like that, but they're just not produced. Kids don't want them. Younger people don't want them. And it's just kind of sad. So moving on to DVDs and Blu-rays. Actually, I didn't bring... Well, I guess I kind of did bring a Blu-ray, but Blu-rays, DVDs, to be fair, they're not really much different. You know, I guess back in the day, too, when VHS came out, you also had Betamax that came out at the same time. Betamax was a little bit more quality. The machines were quite a bit more expensive. And they just ended up failing, mainly because the pricing. People just wanted to watch movies at home. Why would they pay for a machine $700 for one when they can buy one for $300, which at the time was still crazy expensive? So it phased out. And it's kind of like Blu-ray versus HD when they had the HD discs coming out. They were competing with Blu-ray. Blu-ray won, I think, just because blue looks cooler than red. You know, it just looked more modern, I think. So it just kind of phased out, and now they're both more or less gone anyway. But yeah, sorry. Now we'll move on to DVD. Sorry, brain fart. But so I'll start off here. I got, again, like box sets, Star Wars. Like I said, there's gonna be a few Star Wars things there because I am a big Star Wars fan. You know, and you got all the movies in there. You got some crazy artwork. Now, if most fans of Star Wars will have a copy of Star Wars. I used to have a whole bunch. I had other copies of it on VHS. I don't have the Blu-ray copies of these yet, or if I ever bother. It's just I'm not a big fan of the changes in Star Wars. Some of them are really good, but when I do sit and watch the trilogy, I tend to watch my VHS versions because that's the way I remember the movies as a kid. But it's still nice to have like these box sets. Really cool. I got Raiders of the Lost Ark. I got box sets of RoboCop, Ghostbusters. You know, it's really cool. And of course, it's a movie you really love, and most people that know me know I'm a big fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's Leatherface right there, who's always in my videos. You're gonna end up with multiple versions, which, again, with like streaming and stuff, you don't get these stuff. You know, like Steelbox. I had another Steelbox movie here. It wasn't this one. I know I left it over there. And check out my dryer again, real quick. Okay, I'm back. But yeah, some of like the Steelbox stuff. Like in here, you're gonna get multiple discs, different versions. The art on the discs are like cool as well, stuff to look at. You know, and then you got these sort of weird interactive things you can do, like pull that out, and then it's the wall, like the bone room wall, not the bone room wall, so the wall in the kitchen, I guess, or slaughter room. And then you can flip it around, put it in, and then it's just the door that he rips open, or well, slams shut, I guess. And then just my generic copy. But then you got other box sets, like just underground films, really cool stuff. Like it's raised and everything else, really nice looking. Like the color on it was just awesome. Like it's just, like I said, it's just kind of disappointing. I'm a big fan of King Kong as well. And you know, like you don't get this. This is actually empty. I have the movie actually on the shelf somewhere. And then this one here, it's like leather bound. Like it's pretty cool, and it's just a box set of like classic film noir, underground films. And then you got stuff like this, Reservoir Dogs, and it's designed to look like a gas can. And if you've seen the movie, you know what the gas can means. But it's just cool, like the artwork, everything on these things are just amazing. And then pop the top off, and the inside is a giant matchbook. It's the Uncle Bob's Pancake House, which that's the restaurant in the film. No, no, sorry, I'm mixing it up, partially mixing it up with Pulp Fiction. But anyway, it's a giant matchbox, and then it opens up, and you got the DVDs with the art on it, and then you take the DVDs off. There's pictures underneath. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to show you one more thing, only because it's kind of the coolest thing. Now, I really like The Simpsons. It was just unfortunately that only the first 20 seasons of The Simpsons were released on DVD. After that, it just went completely digital and online or whatever. But the first couple seasons were pretty basic, pretty generic when it came to the DVD sets. I didn't bother pulling one of those out because it just was unnecessary. However, the DVDs that came out later, this is season 17, and these just kind of went next level. Now this one's not the best example, but I do have one right here. Yeah. Well, this one doesn't do it either, but so that was a waste. But some of them, you take the cover off, the slip cover off, and the picture on the outside interacts with the slip cover on the outside. There's like a little frame, and it moves, and it's just really cool stuff. But these Simpson DVDs sort of got next level, and I'll show you why. And again, like this is all lost stuff. Like it just doesn't exist. But so you got your DVD. This is what was inside. You see some artwork and everything else. But then they would all open up into this really cool panoramic Simpsons artwork. And everything on this is based on that season. So I'm going to stand up so I can see what I'm looking at. Everything here are based on episodes from from the seasons. And all of the DVDs after, I think from season 3 on, had these amazing pieces of art, and they're double-sided. So you got other ones, pieces on the inside too. Like, why is this lame? Like, there's this one kid I worked with a few years ago, and I had a copy of Tron I had just bought, and I was showing it to my friend who's also a big cinephile, and he was like, "Oh, cool," you know, and he's like, "Why are you still buying DVDs? It's stupid." And I told him I'm a cinephile. I like collecting. I like physical media, and he's just like, "That's just stupid." And it's like, why? This is cool shit. And each one of these DVDs too also came with like a little extra, like some kind of a booklet inside that explained like the episodes, and you know, and they had artwork from the shows inside, you know. But that's all I'm showing off today. This video is actually ran a little longer than I thought. It's we're at almost a half an hour. I was expecting maybe 15 minutes, but I guess I did go through a little bit more than I was expecting, showing a little bit more than I was planning to. But this is why I love physical media. Like, it's just so cool. Like, all this stuff, like, you can just actually hold and look at. And even while it's playing, you can look at the, like, if it's a record, you can look at the record. You can just go like, wow, that's cool. Look at the, maybe not the record, if the record's playing, but sorry, the sleeves. You know, just find all little details and stuff you might not have noticed the first several times you looked at it. Like right here, like the lightning is just smashing through the buildings and everything. Like, that's a lot going on. That is a beautiful piece of art, whether or not you like the band or not. Like, you can't argue that that is a great piece of artwork right there, you know. And incidentally, this is actually I think this was the first heavy metal album I ever actually owned. And my grandfather bought it for me, believe it or not. My very conservative grandfather who hated heavy metal bought it for me because that's what I asked for. But anyway, yes, that's why I love physical media. I love how it looks. I love just putting it in the machines. I love hearing it. I love the cracks and the pops on the vinyls. I don't even have a problem when having to rewind VHS. It was just a different time. It was just a lot more fun making mixed tapes, mixed CDs. It was just a lot of fun. It just now it's just there, and it's I don't know. It doesn't have that same magic like when you go to a record store and you find something and you just look, and you can't buy like 11 cassettes for $1 or for a penny. Sorry, for a penny. Yeah, that's a whole other side of physical media. But anyway, if you watch this all the way, thank you so much. If you have, type of physical media you like the best, VHS, DVDs, CDs, laser disc. Even I don't have any laser discs, otherwise I would have mentioned that in the video, and I just kind of forgot they existed for a minute. And just favorite records, whatever. And if you think physical media is lame and you want to mention why in the comments down below, please do. I love the banter. Just keep it friendly. And I guess until the next one, bye.